Well, shall we do this tube?
No.
Oh.
Sure. Hold on.
Hello and welcome to Shownanigans. I'm Dupe.
And I am Tube, also known as... No, it's fine. Keep going.
Also known as DEVA. And?
Who am I today?
I don't know. You tell me to.
It's a me, Mario.
Not Luigi.
No.
Maybe next time.
Maybe I'll be Luigi next time. Yes, hello. It is I, TRESHA. And that is you, Doob, a DEVA. And we have
I'm
a
just
podcast.
Doob. There's no DEVA in here. Just Doob.
So, Doob, we're...
Yes.
Fuck. We're almost done season 1 of Castle. We only have one more episode to go.
I honestly can't believe it. Like, where did all the episodes go?
They went on YouTube where I spent all day editing them.
Oh my god!
And edited out you taking the world's longest pauses and me going for like 5 seconds. But yeah, I wanted to say that like after we finish episode 10, we're gonna take like a little break from Castle for a bit, and we're gonna like just before starting season 2, like we're still gonna continue watching Castle, but I think we should take a break before we get like burnt out on only watching Castle, and we should watch like a short series or maybe like a movie or something and talk about it. That could be interesting.
Yeah. So then, what are we gonna do? Dun dun dun. You will find out later.
when I think of it with my brain, I will let you know. But right now, I have no thoughts. Empty head.
I don't have an empty head. I have a head that's filled with a gajillion other things and not this right now.
I don't know which one of us is worse off.
So we have one and then we have the other, the yin and the yang.
We have, that matches with the episode.
Yeah.
Also, really quickly, I wanted to say that I posted like 3 TikTok videos and they've all got like one of them has like over 2,000 views. So if you came here from TikTok, hello, please keep watching. I swear we're good at this thing.
Whatever it is we do, yes, we are very good at it.
Please keep watching. Please. It takes so long to edit them, please.
You do a very good job editing too.
Thank.
I almost messed up the word editing. I would almost said editing like many times.
I would have had to edited that.
Well, now you don't.
Oh, great. But yeah, we should start off the actual episode. This one is it's episode 9 of Castle, and it's called Little Girl Lost. And Doob, if you were to use your brain that is filled with a gajillion things to summarize this episode, how would you do that?
So, this is a very special episode.
Is it?
Well, in the way that all of the cases so far have been murder cases, but this episode is actually not a murder case. So, all of the episodes till now have been boom, dead body, but this episode, there is no dead body, or there isn't yet, or whatever it is. So this is instead a missing girl case. But yeah, let's get into the details.
Very good. You're very cool, Doob.
Am I?
No.
I think I'm just hyped off of food.
Good.
I was just starving all day.
I'm gonna start now.
Okay.
Okay, usually when Castle starts, there's like a song or something, but there's no song. This time it's just like some hard rock songs like or something like that.
Yeah.
And like the
just
sun
like
is
music.
Yeah, and then the sun is rising and he's like walking down the street and he's got like coffee and a pastry, but he's bringing it for Beckett. And he's like, "Good morning, grand skim latte, 2 pumps, sugar-free vanilla, and a bear claw."
Did you say grand?
I said grande, did I not?
I heard grand.
I'm pretty sure I said grande. If I said grand, TRESHA, edit in the word grande right now. Grande
No,
skim latte.
Yes.
But yeah, he's bringing it for Kate, and Kate's like, "How did you know?" And he's like, "Oh, because I'm a novelist. It's my job to notice things." I don't
I'm
know.
surprised that he like got her coffee order though.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't a small coffee order. It was like grande skim latte, 2 pump sugar-free vanilla, and a bear claw. What is a bear claw though?
A bear claw is a pastry.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the okay. Yes, it's that
Yes.
one.
It's those like kids snacks, right?
No, that's a cookie. That's a bear paw.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't know what
Huh.
anything is.
I usually know food, but interesting. Okay.
But anyhow, Kate says to him, like, shouldn't you be slinking home from a scandalous liaison? And Castle's like, would you be jealous if I were? And then Kate says, in your dreams. And then Castle's like, actually, in my dreams, you're never jealous. You're just. And then Kate shoves the bear claw in his mouth. And she's like telling him, you shouldn't be so excited when he gets calls about murder. And Castle's like, just because somebody's dead doesn't mean you have to be grumpy. But Kate's always grumpy, and I imagine that she's always grumpy because she has to get up at like 5 a.m. in the morning and stay up to 5 a.m. in the morning solving murders. Like I don't know when she sleeps.
And not to mention that they're doing this case like on a Sunday morning as well.
Yeah.
So like when is an actual day off for her? You don't even know.
I don't know.
Maybe that's just her every day.
I'd be grumpy too. I'm always grumpy anyways. But she's like more pissed off today because she saw the new cover art for Castle's new book for the Nikki Heat novel. And on the cover, she's naked. And Castle's like, oh, she's not naked. She's holding a gun strategically.
But like, she was like telling Castle that she saw the cover art, but Castle knows that it's only available to the fans who subscribe to his website.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, no. I was just subscribed for strictly professional curiosity. And he's like, wait. Are you sure?
I have high doubts about that.
No, because in the first few episodes, we saw that she was a fan of his books because she like had them or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she can't hide. She can't hide the castle fan inside. But like I wrote down here, like we learn later on like how much of a big fan she is, but like it must be hard for her to have met her hero and realize how much of a huge jerk he was.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Also, like, isn't this sort of like fanfic material? Girl is huge fan of author. Girl meets author and he uses her as his muse. Girl finds this kinky somehow and they fall in love. Is this not the plot to Twilight, Doob?
No.
It could have been. Okay, Doob, fine.
No.
All right. So Kate and Castle enter the crime scene and it's an apartment and she sees the sergeant. She talks to him and the sergeant says like, this is a missing person case. The person who's missing is a little girl. Her name is Angela Candela. She's 2 years old and she was reported missing by her parents at around 8 that morning. And Kate asks like, where's the body? But there is none because she was kidnapped from her home while the father was in the other room, which confuses her because she's a homicide detective. The Sarge tells her, you were requested by the FBI to follow along on this case. And the Sarge called Castle there too because he likes pissing off the FBI.
And so which I thought was funny.
Yeah, but he also thinks that Castle can think outside of the box, which is true. We've seen that lots of times in the previous episodes.
Yep.
But Kate's like suspicious. She's like, wait, who's the lead on this investigation? And the Sarge is kind of like reluctant at first to say who it is, but like after Kate asks a few times, he's like, it's Sorensen. And like Kate seems to know who this is. And she's like, I thought he was in Boston. And Castle is in the background like, who's Sorensen?
Honestly, I would be exactly the same way, like acting exactly the same way as Castle. Because they're just like talking about the case and they're like, Sorensen. Oh, I thought he was in Boston.
Who's Sorensen?
Who is Sorensen? It felt like that episode of Arthur where DW was like, who's Dewey?
But don't forget the Dewey Decimal System is your friend. Who's Dewey? Having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. Who's Dewey? Kate seems like she doesn't want to work with this Sorensen person, but she, I guess, agrees to be on the task force anyways because the sergeant says, it doesn't matter the past between you two. There's a little girl missing, and we need you to help out the parents. Like they really need your help. So Kate's like, fine, whatever. And so the Sarge points out Sorensen to Kate, and he's over talking with the parents, and they both share like this knowing glance between one another. And he excuses himself and he comes over to talk to Kate. His name is Will Sorensen, and she's definitely close to him because he walks over and he's like, "You look good."
And he has those like eyes where he's just like, "Hey there,
hey there." Did you just say "Hey there, little lady"?
Yes.
Oh my God, is he Texan? Is he Southern? Hey there, little lady. How you doing? You look good. There's a woman missing. There's a girl missing. Want to help?
Can you imagine though him with like a cowboy hat and he's just like, he has what is it, that like toothpick, like cowboys, those like stereotypical cowboys.
Yes, the cowboy toothpick that they all had, the ancient cowboy toothpick.
No, just the look I'm talking about.
Fine.
And he's just looking at Beckett like, hey.
Hey, you want to ride my horse?
Oh my. Oh my. This just went in another direction.
What?
What? I'm innocent. What?
Kate is trying to be like serious and impartial while she's talking to him, but like it's obvious that they know each other. But Will says that he's been informed of the police's arrangement with Castle and that Castle can come along as long as he doesn't interfere with the case, which made me laugh because of course he's gonna. Castle's like, I'll be as quiet as a mouse. And Kate gives him this funny look because she has the same thought as me. Like, you're not actually gonna be quiet.
Yeah, like quiet, that's not in your dictionary, basically.
So Will quickly briefs them on the case, what I just said, Angela Candela, 2-year-old missing. And Castle tries to ask a question about the case like he normally does, but Will gives him this look like, I thought you were going to be quiet.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I mean, like, no one can be mean to Castle except Kate and me. How dare you? How dare you be mean to Castle?
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And I don't remember if it was at this point or a little bit later on, but I remember him asking about more details and he just gets cut off.
Yeah, that does happen a couple times.
Yeah. And I feel like they would have probably been like very important information that he would have gotten from asking, but he wasn't even given a chance. So poor Castle.
Castle, like the question he was trying to ask was, how do you get abducted when the parents are home? And then Will kind of goes on to say, like, the dad let the mom sleep in that morning, and the dad put Angela in front of the TV alone while he painted in the other room, and he didn't hear anything because he had his iPod on. I mean, like, dude, I listen to podcasts when I cook, and honestly, anybody could come up behind me and I wouldn't know. Like, I've had delivery men knock on my door and I couldn't hear it because I had earphones in. What the hell is this guy doing? Why ask the mom to sleep in if you're not even going to take care of the kid properly? Like, that's neglect, right?
And also, even if it's like, if he's wearing like AirPods or whatever he was, there's also like, unless it's like noise cancellation and or you're listening to like really high volume, then like you should still be able to hear some things in the background. Like, that's what I do. Like, if I don't want to hear anything in the background, that's when I turn on like noise cancellation.
Well, dude,
put the music really loud.
Dude.
But if you're taking care of a child, why would you put such a high volume or turn on noise cancellation?
Well, dude, I'm pretty sure for number one, noise cancellation didn't exist back then because this was like in 2007 and he was not using AirPods.
So he was just putting on heavy music then in that case.
Yeah, so that seems like
low music while listening to the child too.
Yeah, I don't know. He just, the guy, his name is Alfred. The parents' names are Alfred and Teresa Candela. And Alfred looks like Ross from Friends, and he looks just as pathetic as Ross.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also noted that Alfred also looks like Ross.
Yeah.
Like, he has that same kind of downer face.
Yeah.
And
hey, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the voice a little bit.
He's Spanish Ross.
Yeah.
So the next scene, very quickly, is like Kate and Castle talk to Angela's parents along with Will. And the dad says that when he saw that Angela wasn't there, he went to go look for her. That's when he saw that the window was open. And Will mentions that the lock was probably jimmied open from the outside. And Kate says to them, hey, you guys live on the ground floor. There should be bars on these windows.
Mm-hmm.
And Alfred, of course, is like, I never got around to putting them on. He's like, how could this happen in our own home? And I'm like, bro, you left your 2-year-old alone in another room. If it wasn't kidnapping, it could have been anything else that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they start to walk through the crime scene. And Kate suspects that after the suspect grabbed Angela, they literally just walked out right out the back door. Yeah. And Kate wants to run through any sex offenders in the area and burglaries just in case. And she also asks the parents to like make a list of anybody who would have access to their home or anybody who would take their daughter. And like they both say they can't think of anybody right now. The last thing that they do is Will asks his assistant Crawford. She's not very important. She just appears a couple times and I think she's hot. But she asks his assistant Crawford to like put a wiretap on the phone. So they're going to see if like anybody calls in basically.
After talking to the Candelas for the first time about the case, the next scene goes to Beckett and Castle inside an elevator.
They're going back to the precinct.
Yeah. Kate, like, there's just like a little bit of silence, and Kate goes, 6 months.
Castle's like, what?
Yeah. What? And she goes, we dated for 6 months. And he was like, oh, I didn't ask.
And then Kate's like, yeah, you weren't asking very loudly. And he's like, yeah, I'm a Jedi like that. And I'm like, oh, another sci-fi reference. And then when the elevator opens, you even hear like a lightsaber sound.
Yeah. They have like a lot of like little good references in there.
Yeah, because he was a captain. He was a starship captain of his own for one season before they ended it.
So he asked, like, how did you guys meet? Well, not like that, but like, how did you guys meet?
How'd you guys meet? Hi, it's me, Castle, author of 26 books, mystery writer. How'd you guys meet?
A father, too. Anyways, yeah. So he asked how they met, and she said it was through a kidnapping case. And it was for a 6-year-old boy. And he asked how it ended as well. And she goes, we got the guy.
But she says it like really quickly, like, we got the guy. And she walks away. And Castle's just kind of like, okay. Yeah. Okay, it just ends right there. And then they go and they meet up with Kevin and Esposito to start talking more about the case.
So they noticed that the child was adopted. So Angela Candela was adopted.
Also, Kevin mentions that Teresa is a fund manager at Keller Stanton, which I guess is like a bank or something. And the dad is a small-time artist, and he shows his work at galleries sometimes.
So then, almost immediately, the Candelas get a ransom call.
Yeah, Kate gets a phone call and she answers it, and she's like, they got a ransom call. So they go down to their place again.
They go down to the Candelas and they're listening to the ransom call that just happened. Teresa answers and she goes, hello. And the ransom caller says, we have your daughter. And she goes, please, she's just a child. Please don't hurt her. The ransom caller goes, whether we hurt her is up to you.
Now imagine Doob's voice sounding like Darth Vader, and it would be more accurate than to what it sounds right now, which is like a pixie.
Am I like a real life pixie tube? Am I a pixie Doob?
Yeah, but not as cute.
Wow. Cute.
I'm cute. My boyfriend told me so.
I am cute.
Oh yeah, but like the voice changer did make it sound like Darth Vader, which was weird because we just had like the Star Wars reference, so that was weird. Will says that the person calling is also using VoIP, which is like an internet service for calling or something, so the call can't be traced. Yeah. And also the ransom caller wants $750,000. Which
is a lot of money.
I didn't know that.
Really? Well, now you know.
Oh. The more I know.
Ta-da! So they say $750,000 for the child. And Teresa goes, it's everything we have. But if it means getting Angela back, like safe, then we'll pay.
Yeah, Alfred says that. He's like, we'll do anything to get Angela back. But I thought it was weird because Will asks Teresa and Alfred if they can raise the money. And I'm like, why do they have to raise the money? Isn't there somebody who can, give them the money? Why wouldn't the FBI help them out? I don't know. I just assume like in these situations, like you wouldn't have to give them your own money.
Yeah. Well, the FBI is just trying to track the people ultimately so that I don't think.
What if you didn't have the money? Like,
if you didn't have the money though, I think they would put some kind of bait.
Okay. All right.
That's just my thinking.
Okay. I'll accept that answer. Yeah. But yeah, Kate asks the Candelas, like, do they know anybody that can help get their finances in order? And Teresa is looking really worried and exhausted. And Mr. Candela, Alfred, he mentions Nina, who's Teresa's sister. And Teresa says that she's a CPA, so she can help them get their finances together. Alfred is like, how do I know? How can we be sure that they'll get my daughter back if we give them the money? And Will says, like, you have to have hope and you have to imagine your girl coming home through the front door safe and sound. When he said that, he didn't sound like a terrible guy. He sounded a lot like Kate, the way Kate talks to her victims. Yeah. Like a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a bad guy. He just is probably jealous of Castle because he gets to shadow Kate so closely. But like, it's surprising though. If it was just 6 months, like how close were they? Kate doesn't seem to open up very easily, so maybe she was a lot more open back then. But like, I guess maybe 6 months is a long time. I don't know.
Honestly, like depending on the type of person that you are, some people they open up easier, some people they don't. But it also depends on the type of person as well.
Yeah.
And knowing Sorensen, like and Kate, like because they worked together back to back, they probably bonded quickly.
Yeah, maybe it's really hard on both of them, whatever happened, because we don't know what happened yet between them. We just know that they dated.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So then Castle and Sorensen, they kind of just go at each other when Castle questions why Sorensen requested specifically for Beckett.
Yeah, they're in like the kitchen or something. A lot of the dialogues take place in the Candela's kitchen. I guess like the officers, like they're just stationed there.
Yeah. Castle is all like, why did you request specifically for Beckett? Castle asks Sorensen why Sorensen specifically requested for Beckett. And Sorensen, on the other hand, he questions why Castle decided to work with Beckett out of all the, quote, balding detectives.
Yeah.
In the NYPD, which I laughed at. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. Like a lot of the detectives are not as hot as Beckett.
And like he could have chosen anybody with like a lot more seniority to work with, but he chose Beckett. And also before that, Castle comments on how Will must have done kidnappings before because he knew what to say back in the previous scene. And Will is just like, oh, you just have to have control over the situation and control over your emotions. And then Castle is like, well, you probably don't have any control over your emotions because you requested Beckett to be on the force, and she doesn't really need to be there since she's in homicide.
Oh, yoy. So they're just basically like stabbing each other.
Yeah. They're stabbing each other with their words.
Yeah.
And then Kate walks in and they shut up.
Kate just walks in with like these files that she has in her hands. And she's going over like the Candela's finances. And Sorensen says that whoever the abductors are, they knew them well enough to know that they're demanding everything that they have.
They must know their finances very well. Oh yeah, before we say anything else, I wanted to say that this is like Twilight, dude. Castle is Robert Pattinson, and Will is Vampire Boy, Vampire Man. I mean, not Vampire Man, Werewolf Boy, Werewolf Man. They're both fighting over Bella, which is Kate.
Well, that's just like a typical scene. I would not say Twilight.
They're just having this huge dick measuring contest over who should have Kate, basically.
Okay, fine. If you say that one scene, sure.
Fine. Kate says that Nina Teresa's sister is on her way. And then Castle makes like another comment about the case, and Will just gives him another look and like ignores him. He's just commenting on the case, and then Will just sort of pushes him aside. And then Nina, Teresa's sister, comes. They all start talking to her about what they can do to raise the $75,000.
So she was like saying, yeah, we can sell the stocks basically tomorrow. We can put them on the market to sell, and we'll have to wipe out the whole like retirement account as well, and both pensions, and they'll have to pay like penalties. But Teresa was like, well, I don't care, whatever it takes to get my little baby back, basically.
And then in the background we can see like Alfred just angrily splattering paint against the canvas.
They're all just like staring at him because he's making such a loud noise too.
Teresa says he paints when he's stressed. And then Castle starts to asks, does he sell much? And Teresa says, he sells some. And then Nina says, you're being way too generous. And there's obviously like some sort of tension about Alfred's art not selling. And it's like, if you look at his art, maybe I just don't get it. Like, I've seen a lot of abstract art and stuff like that, right? That's literally just paint. It's just paint splatters.
It honestly is. Like, I think anyone can do that. Even kids can do that, no? Like, they can just randomly splatter the paint onto something and it'll be like, is it considered art though?
I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand contemporary and abstract art that much. But like, I have seen a lot of abstract art really done by different people. And it takes a lot more thought to be put into it, I think.
Yeah, it's not just about like randomly like splattering paint. It's about like, no, I mean, you don't have to be like so careful or anything, but you have to have some sort of like idea of how you want it to look like, right? And I don't see that with him, with his art, quote unquote art.
Quote unquote, you're so mean. So mean about the art.
I studied art too. I studied art.
I remember the studying of the art.
I studied art even in college.
Okay. I thought you were just talking about high school.
No, I studied beyond that. I studied history of art. I studied art.
And Bath and Beyond. Sorry.
What?
You said I studied beyond that, and all I could think of was Bed Bath and Beyond, but like for art.
No. Art.
Art and beyond. After that, like Therese asks, like, why are you asking me this? And Castle says, you know, I don't know many artists that have their own pension account. Nina says that Teresa set up the account for him, so he'd have something for Angela, you know, if something were to happen. And then Castle starts to go on and ask him some more.
Oh yeah, this is the part.
Yeah,
he gets cut off.
Yeah, he starts to ask more questions, and it's obviously he has some sort of like intuition about something. Like he feels like he's onto something, right? And Will just fucking interrupts him. Castle is like, tell me, Mrs. Candela, and Will immediately comes in and is like, we think the specificity of the amount of the ransom demand suggests that the kidnappers had knowledge of your finances. It's like, shut up, Will.
Well, duh, like that's what they were talking about before. I was more curious as to like what Castle was trying to say, because he looked like he knew, like he would have gotten some sort of important information, like I said. Like he was just like, he had that look, that Castle look, like, oh, but wait.
Yeah, but wait. One more thing. So somebody asks them, like it was Kate or Will. Kate or Will asks, like, was there anybody who might have had a grudge against you or anybody close to you who needed the money? Nina or Therese can't think of anybody. And then all of a sudden, Alfred just appears behind them like some sort of fucking ghost. And he's like, what about Doug Ellers? Teresa says, like, she just used to work with Doug, but she can't imagine that he would kidnap somebody. Alfred says, but what about all those messages he left you? And remember, you filed all those claims with HR. Therese gets really agitated. She's like, I know what happened, Alfred. Eventually, she like says that Ellers ran an asset managing group in her company, but they weren't performing, so she let him go. And then Kate asks, like, did he ever threaten you? And she says, well, he blamed me for his divorce. He said his wife left him because I fired him.
She took their kids along with her as well. So that could have been like a motive, basically. They're thinking that could be a motive for him to like be like, oh, well, because of her, my kids are gone, so let me go and take her kid.
They immediately bring him in and start questioning him. But before they go in, Will and Castle and Kate are outside of the interview room, and Will is like, let's do a pressure interview, you and me. You and me, Kate. Castle wants to come in too, but Will says, no, you can't come in. I don't care how big of a fan of his you are. He doesn't come in the room. And Castle is like, well, that's fine. But can you tell me how big of a fan is she?
Yeah.
And
He doesn't answer.
Yeah, Kate and Will share this look, and Kate especially looks really annoyed at the question. She's like, don't tell him a thing.
Oh my god.
Do not say anything. Don't. Well.
I can imagine in her head just like a little mini like chibi version of her just being like, no, I'm saying it's not happening. Don't do it.
Like Will just ignores the question after that, and him and Kate head into the interview room to interview Doug.
They ask Dave Ehlers, when was your last contact with Teresa Candela? And he goes, Teresa Candela, what's going on? Will goes, just answer the question. He goes, what did she say about me? Will says, let's talk about what you'd said to her.
He plays like this message, like this incriminating voicemail that he left for Teresa, where he's like, I gave you 6 years of my life. I built your damn division, and now you want to bed me over? You want to cut me out? Well, karma's a bitch, Teresa. You burned down my house. I'm going to burn down yours.
It's like, well, it's someone that you would want to ask to come in to talk to. Yeah. You're like, yeah, that's motive right there.
Yeah.
So basically, he doesn't really understand why he's there, but they play that kind of like blackmailing message that he left for Teresa as well. Yeah. But he's still really confused because he just like says harassment isn't really like something to press charges about. According to him, all he did was like leave this voicemail for her.
He's like, oh, what's she gonna do? Complain about me? That's his vibe.
And then they talk about like actual charges, and they're like kidnapping, assault, breaking and entering.
He's like, what the hell are you talking about? And then they say to him, somebody kidnapped their daughter this morning. And he's like, look, I wouldn't hurt a kid. Like, I'm angry with Therese, but I wouldn't hurt their kid. Kate says, but according to your wife, like during the divorce, there were allegations of violence. And he says, look, my ex-wife was just looking for a payout, like a payday.
That's all. Yeah. They ask him like, you're not looking for a payday, are you, Mr. Ehlers? And he goes, you have the wrong guy.
And then like the scene, it's obviously like he's not going to talk. So like the scene ends. They're leaving the questioning room, and Will is saying that he wants to check out Doug's last whereabouts to see if he was anywhere near the Candelas' home. And Castle is there, and he's like, look, it's obviously not Doug, because if it was him, he wouldn't be this angry. He would be pretending to not be angry. That way he couldn't be connected to this case at all. He wouldn't be blatantly expressing out loud how much he hates Teresa. But then Will is like, Castle, you're not a criminologist. And they keep arguing. And Kate says, look, why don't you two just drop your pants and get it over with? And Castle's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'll drop my pants right now. My penis is bigger than his.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously, that's his vibe.
Okay. Anyways.
But like Kate gets really angry and she scolds both of them. And she's like, look, the fact is you're both right. He probably didn't do it. But when a child's life is at stake, we have to be sure. We have to question everything we think we know. And so she wants to go back to the Candelas with Will. And then Castle is like, oh, well, what do you want me to do? And she's like, I need you to go home. And I was like, why would you send him home?
I would have just sent Will home.
I guess she might have wanted to send both of them home, but like she can't send Will home because he's with the FBI. But I was like, it's not his fault. Will just keeps arguing with him. Will won't like listen to what he's saying.
I felt bad for him.
Like Castle isn't stupid. I'm actually vouching for him this time. Like he actually has something to contribute. And
I was especially like sad afterwards because he was like the way that he reacted to her being like, I need you to go home. He just was like, okay, but if you need me, call. Even if it's just a talk. I was like, oh, stop it.
Drinks. You owe me un soda.
I am drinking your soda.
Oh, give me my soda. Oh, that bitch.
Don't worry, it's just Canada Dry. Don't be jealous.
Oh, okay, never mind. So anyhow, Castle goes back to his apartment. And the scene is hilarious. Basically,
Oh, yeah.
Martha, she's finally holding her life coach appointment. Like that thing we saw of her like the first or second episode where she's like taking classes to become a life coach. It finally happened. She's finally a life coach. And she's coaching like an aspiring novelist. And she actually like she told him about Castle's writer block, and Castle's just standing there like, this is my office, and you're telling him you're using my office to tell him about my writer's block. Get out.
She was so Martha was so passionate during this scene though.
Mm-hmm.
She was like so at it, like a person who just starts off their career and they're like, yeah, like I'm gonna give it my 100%.
Mm-hmm. Todd, honey, I really, really need you to focus on calibrating your creative energy.
Yes. You sound good too.
Thank you. And so, you sound good too. So like she's basically up to her old tricks. She like manages to sell this novelist one of her life coaching packages, and he subscribes for 1 whole year. And then she tells him like her made up mantra. She's like, I'm sorry, she calls it her Marthaism. She has Marthaisms. And she's like, you is who you is. And if you ain't who you is, who is you? He and Martha start talking. Wait, before that, I wanted to ask, if you were like a life coach, dude, what would your Marthaism be?
My doobism?
Sure, your doobism.
You can doob it. Just doob it. Not Nike, just doob it.
Just doob it. Mine would be, if I can do it, you can do it, tube.
Oh my gosh, that's
nice.
Perfect.
I know. We should just become life coaches, and we could become gurus, life gurus, and sell people fake packages on how to make their lives better, when really all they have to do is eat properly and exercise.
Well, you know what? Sometimes it's not about what it actually is that you have to do. Sometimes it's about the motivation on how to do it.
Oh, that should be your Marthaism also. Castle starts discussing the case with Martha, and he says like he's scared now that Alexis could get taken, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, I want to go hug Alexis. And then Martha throws in another Marthaism, and she says, we are all pod mates. I call it my peapod bond, a bond that exists between parent and child. Everyone who has ever had a child is in the pod forever. My peapod bond. But yeah, the whole peapod bond thing makes Castle's eye like he has an idea. You can tell he has an idea. Mm-hmm. But then we don't get to know what that is, because we immediately cut to this scene with Kate and Will. They're in the Candela's kitchen by themselves, and they're talking. Kate says to Will that they've hit a dead end with Doug, because apparently that morning he was having breakfast at a diner, so he couldn't have kidnapped Angela.
So he was saying that he was at the diner having his usual poached eggs at the time of the abduction. Mm-hmm. And Will is like, would have been too easy or over easy. And I was like, oh my gosh, an egg joke? Really? Okay.
But then Kate's like, that's like something Castle would say.
Yeah.
And Will is like, you like him? And Kate's like, no.
She's like hesitant though, so
yeah. She's like, I don't know, I think he's interesting. And then Will asks if they're together, and she's like, no. And then they start going into their history. He says like he meant to call her, and Kate says like, yeah, I know you meant to do a lot of things. And she's like, that's why you left. And I was like, oh.
But honestly, like, why would you not even call?
I don't know. He says that he went to Boston, I guess, to join the FBI there, and Kate didn't come. And Will says she could have come, and then she's like, yeah, and then what? I'd have to join the Boston PD. And then if you get transferred again, I'd have to change my job all over and over again. Like, we know how this goes. Mm-hmm. And
she doesn't really, like, feel like she kind of fit into his life, I guess, at that time, because he was just kind of, like, he just moved to Boston, but you know that he's not going to stay in Boston either. You would think he's going to be transferred to other places as well. So he's not like, yeah, exactly. So he's not stationed, and he's consistently moving, but it's not the same for Kate. Mm-hmm. So
it was a good opportunity for him, but not for her. It put their
Exactly.
relationship in a hard spot, which is too bad because, like, if you think about it, the relationship didn't break down because one of them was like bad or like abusive or like just a toxic person. It happened out of necessity, which is worse because there was nothing wrong. That makes it even more sad.
Yeah.
Will says, "I missed you."
Yeah, he basically just kind of woos her. You know the term
Yeah.
like woos?
I know what woo means, Doob. I read.
Yeah, so so he basically just woos her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he like kisses her.
Yeah, she's like, "Will I?" And then he like plants one right on her.
Yeah, and it's not like a mwah kind of kiss. It was like a
I'm glad to know that that's what you sound like when you kiss someone. All
no,
right.
I'm just saying. Okay,
It was like,
if you were to think about, I don't make that sound. TMI, but I do not make that sound. That's a car. That's a car. That is not lips.
It's not lips.
Stop it, too.
What? But then boom, castle jump scare. He like all of a sudden appears and he's like, "Oh, I thought cops and feds hated each other."
And he's so like chill.
Uh-huh. Kate's like, "I thought I told you to go home." And he's like, no, you did. I did go home. But then my mother told me something. And I can't tell if he's like embarrassed to be there or not. He's like talking really quickly.
I don't think he's embarrassed. I think he's just kind of like excited to kind of tell them this information that he just found out. Yeah. I don't think he's even like that jealous of what just happened. He's just more focused on the case itself. He just can't contain it within him.
Kate's like, "Oh no, Castle, we were just," and then Castle's like, "Yeah, you were just being consenting adults. I don't care. I have something to tell you."
Let me tell you this thing.
I have a thing. Let me tell you it. But he's like, "Yeah, my mother told me something." And then Will is like, "You live with your mother?" And he's like, Castle's like, "Yeah, apparently we're peas in a pod." But then he like starts talking about how Angela is adopted and how the birth mother would have been given info on the adopted family's finances prior to the adoption. So she would have knowledge of the finances.
Oh, they referenced Nancy Drew in here too.
Yeah, Will is like really skeptical of Castle this whole episode. He's like, "Are we really gonna waste time with the insights of Nancy Drew?" And then Castle's like, "Is that supposed to be an insult? Because Nancy Drew solved every single case."
Like I read Nancy Drew too. Yeah. Every single one. Yeah. I love Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew is good. Kate's kind of skeptical too about whether she should listen to Castle or not. Castle says to her, he quotes like exactly what she said, like, "Look, when a child's life is at stake, we have to be sure, which means we have to question everything we think we know." So Kate considers what Castle said, and they decide to bring in the birth mother.
So the birth mother comes in for the questioning.
Kate and Will are questioning her.
Yeah. Basically, it's been 2 years since she gave the child up for adoption, right? But I think 2 years is a long time to think about a decision that she made when she was only 16. So I guess she's only 18.
Oh, wow. Yeah. She doesn't look 18. I didn't
realize that. Yeah.
She looks 30. But anyhow, she looks confused, though. Like, she looks 30 and confused.
And they kind of try to put words into her mouth. So they're saying, like, "We're talking about the baby and you regretting your decision." And she goes, "My decision? Well, I don't regret my decision." They asked, like, "Then why did you try to find her?"
Yeah, because Kate says they found a petition that she filed with the adoption agency not too long ago requesting the name and the address of the adoptive parents. And she's like, "I never filled out that form." And then Kate shows her the form, like, "You filled this out." And Mrs. Gomez, her name is Mrs. Gomez. Mrs. Gomez says that she never filled out the form and that the signature on it isn't hers. And she starts freaking out. She's like, "What's going on?" And like, Kate doesn't tell her that her daughter has been abducted. She just keeps going on with the questioning. She's like, "So was there anybody in the family who didn't want to go through with the adoption?" And Mrs. Gomez says no. And then they ask, "Well, what about the father?" And she says, "Juan? He was cool. Like, he was in Iraq when she gave up the baby, but like, he didn't object to the adoption." But she seems unsure. And then she mentions like, he's back now from Iraq. I guess they figure that it must have been him that forged the signature on the form.
So they go after him, and it's in this like garage.
Yeah, he's like a car detailer. He's like the stereotypical Spanish car detailer.
Yeah. And they go after him and they're like, police, keep your hands up. And he starts running.
Because of course.
And they ask him, like, they eventually catch him and they ask him, so why'd you run? And he goes, look, in my neighborhood, when you see a cop, that's what you do.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to run from a cop. Not right now. I'm pretty sure they just shoot me.
Yeah. They just start, like, asking him questions.
Mm-hmm. Kate's asking him questions in the background. But then we switch really quickly to, like, Castle and Will. They're in the car together.
Mm-hmm.
And Castle says, what, no good cop, bad cop? And Will says Juan did 2 tours in Iraq. And if he went over there, he would just get too anxious and probably wouldn't talk. And then he says, but Kate, she has a way of sneaking up on people. And Castle goes, you mean like last night? And Will gives him this look. And he like asks Castle if he's jealous. And Castle says, no, he isn't. But Will is like, yeah, you are jealous. You're jealous that I hooked her.
Yeah.
And Castle is like, yeah, but you didn't reel her in. What's there to be jealous of?
You see Will and Castle just going at it again.
Uh-huh.
And then in the background, all you see is like Esposito, and he's just like questioning the birth father. When they were going at each other, if you look in the background, you see 2 bald heads.
Why is Esposito there? Whatever.
Yeah. It was a little bit weird. But like I just saw Esposito in the background and I was like, okay. And in the meantime, they're Will and Castle are just like.
I'm sorry, dude. That's how Indian people argue. That's how brown people argue.
They argue like this.
Yep. But yeah, I wanted to say, like, I didn't really like that conversation between Castle and Will.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she's a fish. Is Kate a fish?
No.
She's like she's just some fish for them to catch because he's like, oh, you didn't reel her in.
Have you noticed though that Kate isn't very fond of them arguing over her?
Yeah, she's not.
Because in a lot of shows and in this kind of situations, in shows or movies or whatever, stereotypically the girls would always be like, oh my gosh, 2 people fighting over me, oh, like that.
Mm-hmm.
But Kate is just like, oh gosh, what are these idiots doing?
Maybe it's because she thinks like they're fighting over like a fish. I said, like, it's like she's some sort of prize to be won, and I'm just like, can you guys just shut up? She's not a fish.
She is not a fish.
But then, yeah, we switched to Kate questioning Juan. Mm-hmm. And he says that, you know, he saw a lot of stuff that happened in Iraq. He saw a lot of, that's how the Americans say it. Sorry. He saw a lot of stuff that happened in Iraq, like a lot of stuff that happened to kids and stuff there. So when he came back, he just wanted to make sure Angela was okay. So he signed the papers with Mrs. Gomez's name and he went to go see her. And he met Alfred, and he said Alfred felt sorry for him because Alfred was at war too, and he lost his arm. But dude, I didn't notice anything wrong with Alfred's arm. He still has it.
Maybe it's prosthetics?
Maybe. No, like I was paying pretty good attention to his arm, and it's still like a regular arm. I don't understand.
Did you hear that in the background?
No. Why?
Oh, okay.
Why?
No, Luna yawned and it made a sound. She made a
Oh
sound.
God, I thought you meant you heard something in like my background audio and I was like, is there a ghost? I'm sitting in the dark. Kate asks, what did you lose? And Juan says that he was hit by some shrapnel from an IED and now he can't have kids anymore. So it was another reason for him to see Angela. And then Kate's like, but that's no reason for you to kidnap her and then ask the adoptive parents for money. And Juan is like, what? Kidnapped? She's been kidnapped? So like he genuinely didn't know that she was kidnapped or that there was something wrong. Yeah. So he didn't do it. So now they're back at square one again. We're halfway through the episode now. Right now, Kate, Will, and Castle, and Esposito, and Kevin, they're all discussing the case so far. Mm-hmm. So why don't we discuss it so far? So like, when you first watched this episode, who did you think did it?
Like up until now?
Based on what we knew so far.
I was thinking it was someone that was close to the family.
Obviously.
Like a relative or like someone not just close, but like blood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who'd you guess?
I would guess probably the sister.
That's what I guessed too. I figured it was the sister because she didn't like the husband because he was
Mm-hmm.
neglecting the kid, and I figured she probably just took him. And also, she knew that she's a CPA, like an accountant.
Mm-hmm. So
Teresa,
she knew their finances.
yeah, that's my guess. That was my guess too.
Yeah.
We're at the next scene, and like Castle, Will, Kate, Esposito, and Kevin, they're discussing the case so far.
When they go back to their precinct,
Yeah.
Beckett is like really frustrated because the birth father's alibi also checks out since he was at work at the auto shop.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kate mentions to Sorensen, or Will, that it's not going to happen this time. Castle overhears. He's like, what's not going to happen this time?
Mm-hmm.
And he learns from Will that although they caught the guy in the past case that they were mentioning before with Kate and Will, they couldn't save the child. The child died. So even though they caught the guy, the child died.
Yeah, Kate like gets into this argument with Will because Will still thinks that it's the father. She's like, I don't care. Juan has motive. He has the fatherhood motive, the instinct of fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
And Castle is like disagreeing because it's like, if he took her, he would be with her, not at his job. And they're arguing. And then Kate just is, like you said, she's like, I'm not going to lose this one. And she walks out.
So basically, like, I feel like Beckett's reactions and what we just learned about the past case kind of explains the way that Beckett has been acting recently.
Yeah.
Regarding the case, because I feel like she's been a bit edgy.
It's like the same with the case with the frozen body. She's on edge and she just wants to solve it and like get the person back, like get the kid back alive. She doesn't want like a repeat.
Yeah, she's kind of more emotionally affected by the case. Mm-hmm. And she kind of snaps at certain things, but it's because she wants everything to be smooth and everything to work out so that they end up saving the girl this time.
Yeah.
So then the Candelas get another call from the kidnappers.
So Kate and Castle go back over to the Candelas' house. Will has this assistant, Crawford, the blonde lady who I said was hot. And she's talking right now, and she says that the kidnapper asked for 75 packs of hundreds, mixed serial numbers, and they want it to be placed in a backpack, a very specific backpack, in like a specific spot, and they don't want die packs or trackers, and they're going to call again with like a drop time and like with more information on where to drop it. And so they start talking about getting the money together to make the drop, and Alfred starts to get nervous, and he's asking why the kidnappers just won't tell them where the drop off is. And Kate says like, they're testing you. And Will says like, we need to test them back and ask for proof that Angela is alive. And Alfred is nervous, and he's like, well, what if they don't give any proof, and what if they refuse? Therese gets up and she's like, how can you say that? You think she's dead? And he's like, no, of course not. And Therese is like, I should have gotten up. I shouldn't have let you watch her. And then Alfred starts to be like, hey, don't say that. And then she's like, don't tell me what to say. Tell me, Alfred, was it worth it? Was it worth our little girl? And she picks up a vase and she throws it at his painting.
I thought this part was so dramatic and like so over the top.
Really?
Yeah. I just looked at her and I was like, okay. But I felt like yes, she had a lot of emotion when she was doing that, but it was like a little extra.
You thought so? I thought that she was like really stressed. I thought it was like, this isn't the first time that he's been doing this for a long time. He hasn't been watching the kid properly and stuff for the long time. Like, it doesn't feel like this family unit has been working well. So it feels like she's had a lot of pent up rage that she's just letting out right now.
She seems mentally unstable. That's what it was.
You feel like?
Yeah. At that point, when because remember we were talking about something that was similar to this before too. Oh, it was the case with the girl that was in the dryer.
Yeah.
And that in that one, spoiler alert. But you know, like how she like went to like kill the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that kind of like between talking and like using force. Like that's what makes it an unstable situation. Do you know what I mean?
Not
you know
at
what
all.
I'm getting at?
Not at all.
Like,
but...
okay, if I'm talking to you and I'm like, Tube, like, don't do this or whatever.
Sure.
Okay, that's normal. Like, yes, you have a lot of rage. But then when you start if I start to throw something at you.
Oh, okay.
That's when I'm going a little crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Then
that's why when she hit the vase, I was like, okay, something's not right up there.
Yeah, no, I don't think that it's not something that's not right. I think that it's like a lot of just years and years of keeping your emotions under a blanket, and then all of a sudden it just erupts. Just like the same with that girl, like we discussed in that episode. Like she had a lot of rage, and instead of being able to keep it like together, she just let it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kate tries to calm her down in the empathetic way that Kate does. And like it's like the same way that Will had to calm down the dad before. Like they're both very empathetic. They're very alike. Yeah. So it's like, it's no wonder they ended up dating each other that time. Like they're very much alike one another. Then the phone rings and it's the kidnappers, and they say that they want a civilian to make the drop. And if they see the police or the FBI, the girl dies. And they give Therese a street name. And they said that there will be a cell phone taped to the bottom of the mailbox. And from there, there'll be further instructions texted to them. And then Therese asks for proof that her daughter is still alive. And the kidnapper lets the daughter, Angela, say, Mama. And it legitimately sounds like, Mama. Like that. It sounded like a grown woman making a kid's voice.
It actually sounds like that, though.
Mama. That's how you talk to Luna. Luna. So they tell her like she has 1 hour and you have to make the drop.
They read over all the instructions and stuff on how to make the drop and everything. It says specifically on there that there will be no cops. Albert says no when Sorensen kind of volunteers and says he's doing the drop off and he has experience and blah 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 blah. And he's very persistent. Albert's very persistent. Alfred. He's like, Alfred. Oh my gosh, why did I write Albert? Okay. Alfred is very persistent with the no cops thing.
Yeah.
Because he's worried that his daughter's safety will be compromised. So basically he uses his authority and he was like, I'm the father and no cops.
Now he chooses the time to not be pathetic.
I know, right? Of all the times.
Come on, Ross.
I mean,
Pivot.
Alfred. Pivot.
Then he pivots and leaves the room.
And Castle ends up volunteering too.
Yeah, because Will says like the father's too emotional to do this.
Yeah.
He's all about emotions. This Will.
Like he doesn't show his emotions. That's
sure.
Like
yeah.
It. But I think that's kind of how FBI's work.
That's how Kate is too, though.
Yeah. I think it's part of the role. I think it changes you a little bit.
It changes you.
Yeah, because all you see, like, if you become really emotional with all the case, if you become emotionally attached to all the cases, imagine though that would make yourself miserable too. So I think they kind of train themselves to be this way. No.
One day you're an egg. Next day you're
an egg. What? What? Tube, it sounds like you're floating away. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm right here. Why?
Oh, okay. No, all I hear is okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, Castle wants to do it because he's like, I'm not a cop and I'm not emotional.
This time Kate supports him.
Yeah.
She just sides with him because she worked with him for a while now. And she knows how he is.
Yeah.
And his ability to handle like really stressful situations too. He handles it really well. And he's very calm.
She's like, he's good under pressure. He's our best shot. And Castle's like, I don't like saying this, but we're running out of time. So they decide to send him in.
Yeah. Sorry, Luna's in the background, just like scratching the sofa. Luna, come down.
Lupa.
Okay. Yes.
Lupa.
So then you see this like tiny scene of Castle suiting up for the drop off.
Yeah, Crawford's trying to put the wire on him. He's like, cold hands.
So he suits up and it's like such a short scene, and then they go to do the actual drop off.
Yeah, but before that, Kate starts to talk to him and she's like, oh, I should explain like what happened last night. And he's like, oh, you don't have to explain unless you want to. And I'm like, she doesn't have to explain. Like she and Castle aren't dating. Why does she have to explain to him why she was kissing Will?
Yeah, she doesn't.
Yeah, and she's like, oh yeah, just for the character of Nikki Heat, I should explain it so you understand her. And Castle comes over and he's like, oh, I think I understand Nikki Heat better than you do. And I'm like, is he saying he understands Kate more than she does?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then like she just kind of plays it off and she's like, be careful, okay?
Yeah.
And it was like very heartfelt, that
He's
part.
like, do I detect actual concern for my well-being?
She goes, screw this up and I'll kill you.
That's more like it. So then Castle goes to make the drop.
Yeah. So this scene is interesting.
Yeah.
So something is revealed here too.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, Beckett and Sorensen, Beckett and Will, sorry, are in the car watching over Castle.
Yeah.
And kind of tagging along as he goes further away.
Mm-hmm.
And Will reveals to us that Beckett waited in line for like an hour to get a signed copy of one of Castle's books.
Mm-hmm.
And that his books got her through her mother's death.
Mm-hmm. And Kate's like, is there anything you don't remember? And he's like, not when it comes to you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
aw.
I think.
I was just like, okay.
You were just not impressed by Will.
I was not that impressed by Will. I don't know what it was. I think it's their like, I think maybe if Will was like,
you just want Kate to end up with Robert Pattinson, your team Edward.
No, it's not just no, it's not just that. I think it's their connection. I just didn't really feel their connection that much.
Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs?
Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs?
She didn't feel it, Mr. Krabs.
I didn't feel it, Mr. Krabs.
No. Castle makes his way, like they're watching him and he has the backpack on with the money and he makes his way over to the mailbox and he grabs the cell phone from it. He tells Kate and Will to hold off on sending Kevin and Esposito in because he got a text on the phone that says that they're watching him and they send him details on what he's wearing. And then Kate says to him, that doesn't change anything. You just need to follow the plan. And then he sends Kate a text from the phone that says, you guys making out? He sends it in all caps.
I thought this was hilarious though, because you see like this scene of him like running around and like following the instructions, being like, okay, this way, that way, whatever it is, looking all serious, and then you just see the text. You don't even see Castle's face. You just see the text, and you're like LOLing at him.
What Castle did is important a little later. Like it just seems like something stupid, but it's like important. But anyhow, he gets a text with the directions and he starts following them, but not without shenanigans. First, he asks Kate and Will, do I go right? Do I go, is it?
They say cross the street, then west on East 47th. And he goes to them, that's left, right? And they go right.
Uh-huh.
And he goes right, or right, left?
And they both go left.
Basically, they just meant to confirm what he was saying in the beginning, but then he gets confused because he's Castle and he's just like,
So he goes into the building and he gets another text again that says that he needs to leave the bag at the shoe shine stand and then exit out the side. So Castle tells him to just do as the instructions say, make the drop and walk away. And amazingly, Castle does exactly as he's told and he walks away. And then this part is a bit weird, but it's interesting. Like Kevin and Esposito enter and they see someone walking away with the bag and it's a scruffy looking Asian guy. Like that's what Esposito says into his radio. And then Esposito runs after him and tackles him and he asks the guy, where's the girl? But the guy has no idea what he's talking about. And then Esposito opens the backpack and it's stuffed with newspaper. And then he spots someone else carrying the bag and he sends Kevin after him. But then they stop and they realize that there are more than one person carrying that bag. In fact, everybody walking around has the exact same backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like really creepy. It was like, what's going on? I was like really confused.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really cool scene because you could see all the people walking through the building with the same backpack. But they really overdid it with the stingers. Like every time they showed somebody with the backpack, it would be like, da-da-da, and then they showed somebody else and it would be like, da-da-da-da.
So they revealed that someone posted about having like a performance piece for YouTube.
Yeah, on Craigslist. Kate says that. And then she says that's why everybody in that area came with the bags, because they posted the ad on Craigslist and then they sent out over 24 bags to those people and told them to walk through the building at that exact time. So it obscured the person, whoever the real person was who picked up the bag.
Yeah.
So this is like really over the top and elaborate. Like, who does this? Who
posts it was a little like, I don't know, like
who does things? This? Like, who anonymously posts for a flash mob for YouTube, and then somebody's like, yeah, I'll do that for art.
I think like they wouldn't have had time to prepare either. They would just like randomly post it, I guess, like within an hour kind of thing, and then this all happened, and I don't know. It was just a little weird. Things. Yeah. So, anyways, after they were talking about this whole like performance piece and stuff, they mentioned that Castle mentioned that he's managed to slip the phone that the kidnappers gave to him inside the backpack.
Yeah, because Will says that the person who posted the ad obscured their IP, and also the phone is like a bulk phone, so it's not registered to a specific address or anything, so they don't know who it belongs to. But now Castle has put the phone in the backpack, and that text he sent to Kate makes it possible for them to ping where the phone is.
Yeah.
And they track it to like a 20-block radius, so they need a little longer to narrow down the area. And I want to say TRESHA looks not happy about this. I can't tell if she's worried or stressed, but she looks kind of like, oh my God. And I couldn't tell like if she was worried about the phone. I couldn't tell what she was worried about, basically.
Yeah, she just looked a little bit like stressed. But
I thought at first that she would be stressed because like they couldn't find where the phone was, right? They couldn't find the bag. But they show her being stressed after Castle reveals that he slipped the phone in the backpack.
Yeah, conveniently at that time.
Yeah, but anyhow, then Castle has this little moment with Kate. Like he's getting his wire taken off by Crawford, and then Kate comes over to talk to him. And he says that he feels guilty for not seeing who took the bag, and Kate tells him it wasn't his job. And he says that he can't imagine anything like that happening to Alexis. But before they can like keep going with their conversation, Will interrupts, and he says that the kidnapper must have found the phone and taken the batteries out, so they've lost the signal, and now they've hit another dead end.
Yeah. So then we cut to a scene of Castle in his apartment, and he's like up. I guess he's just kind of worried about the girl too, and about the case. So he's trying to find any kind of clue that he can.
He's like looking through crime scene photos.
And Alexis is also there, so she's also awake, and she comes over as well. And they start talking. Castle mentions about how he's looking for a white rabbit.
Yeah, and Alexis is like, Lewis Carroll or The Matrix?
He goes, I'm not sure yet.
And I'm stupid because I thought that he was like actually looking for a white stuffed rabbit. But that's not what he means. He's looking for just a stuffed rabbit in general. He just calls it a white rabbit because he's chasing after something, like how Alice in Wonderland is chasing after the white rabbit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lot of like metaphors and stuff in here. Yeah, basically he's just trying to find out who it was that took the girl. And that's who he references as the white rabbit.
No, there's an actual stuffed animal he's looking for.
No, but like he's looking for clues.
Yeah.
And the white rabbit is like part of the clue. But
I guess so.
Basically he's just looking for something that will get him like some kind of evidence.
Okay.
And it ends up being the
stuffed rabbit, I guess.
Stuffed rabbit.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I get what you're saying.
Then Castle and Alexis start talking about Alexis's stuffed animal as well.
Monkey Bunky.
Monkey Bunky. So cute.
Yeah. She says that the stuffed animals on Angela's bed remind her of when she was a kid, and it reminds her of Monkey Bunky. Castle says that Monkey Bunky, like he's been washed so many times, he looks like roadkill. Yeah. And Alexis is like denying it, like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Castle's like, oh, well, you won't mind if I throw him out. And she's like, don't you dare throw out my Monkey Bunky.
He's like, I won't. Don't worry, I won't.
Alexis says, oh, so you think the bunny has something to do with the case? And he's like, oh, well, I'll let you know when I go down the rabbit hole. And then immediately we are back at the Candelas again.
They go to the rabbit hole, basically.
He's like searching around the room, and like Kate's there, and she's like asleep. She's like in a rocking chair, and she wakes up. She's like, Castle?
And he starts telling the story of Alexis when she was little. And Castle goes, when Alexis was little, she had a stuffed monkey that she could not live without. One time we went on vacation and she forgot to pack him. So I bought her another one. But she knew it was not Monkey Bunky. Yeah.
And then he shows Kate a picture. He's like, I've been in here looking around and I've already found like 2 pictures of Angela clutching this rabbit. And like, I'm looking around and I can't find this rabbit. And then Kate's like, so whoever took Angela knew her well enough to like take the stuffed rabbit. And then, but she also says, but like, we went through the list of people that the Candelas gave us, and like, other than some teenage babysitters and like a cleaning lady, there hasn't been anything else. But Castle then says,
not all babysitters are teenagers. Sometimes they're people close to us. Sometimes they're family. So then, like, almost right away, he goes, when did we lose the signal on the phone?
And then Kate goes, right when we told the Candelas we were tracking it.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, 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 bum. So Kate asks Will to get her the address for Teresa's sister Nina, and they immediately go to her. And when they find her, she has Angela.
Yep. They arrest her, and then they go to the Candelas' house as well, right after.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was really sweet because when they arrest her, Kate picks up the rabbit. It's like a pink little rabbit, and she gives it to Angela. She's like, hey, you're so beautiful. You want your rabbit? Here you go. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And she's like, let's go visit your mommy. And then they all go to the Candelas.
Aww.
Yes, and they make that sound. Yeah, so then they go to the Candelas, and right away, like, Alfred, like, that's the most amount of emotions you see out of him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he sees Angela, and he's like, mi corazón. I think that means, like, my dear.
My dear, my soul.
My heart, something like that. But he goes like, mi corazón, Angie. Yeah. And he like hugs her and everything. He has this like big gleam in his eyes too, and he's like, yeah, we did it. So anyways.
But Teresa is like sitting farther away, and she doesn't look too happy.
She just like very quiet, and she's just staring.
Also, like the way this scene is shot is interesting because every time we're at the Candelas, don't you think it feels really heavy? But even when they return Angela, even though like Alfred is really happy, the heaviness never leaves. It's still really heavy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's always a shadow casting over everybody's face when they're in that house. And it doesn't leave. It's still there. Alfred asks her, like, what are you doing? You're just sitting there. Why aren't you excited to see Angela?
We got our baby back.
Yeah. And then Castle and Kate and Will are just staring at Therese. She's silent. And Crawford, Will's assistant, takes Angela away. And Alfred asks Angela, what did you do? And she gets up and she's angry. She's like, I worked 14-hour days, day after day, year after year, killing myself so that we can have a life. And what did you do? Oh, you painted. All you did was paint. And he's like, that's not true. Really? What about that job you said you were going to get so I could cut my hours? And he's like, I was taking care of Angela. And she says, taking care? You left her there in front of the TV every day. And then she turns to like Castle and Will and she says, do you know how many times I woke up to her screams? Because he was in that room blasting music in his ears. And then Kate says to her, like, it doesn't give you the right to kidnap your own child. And she's like, it's not kidnapping, she's my daughter.
Mm-hmm. And then Kate goes, Mrs. Candela, you had your sister climb through that window and take her.
I gave her permission.
It doesn't matter. You violated your husband's custodial rights.
Custodial rights? He didn't even notice she was gone. What kind of a father does that to this 2-year-old? Alfred's just in the corner looking all pathetic, and he's like, why would you do this? Why would you put us through that? I mean, for God's sake, why not just divorce me? And then she says she doesn't want him to sue her for alimony. She doesn't want him to get half of everything. Like, that house is hers. She paid for everything, and she doesn't want him to get half of that. She doesn't want him to get custody of Angela. And she doesn't want that to happen because she's seen what happened to all the guys at work, and she saw what happened especially to Doug Ellers, the guy she fired. She saw that he had to give up his kids and he had to pay money to his wife.
Mm-hmm. And so basically she doesn't want a situation because basically she doesn't feel like she deserves that she has to like pay 50% to him in order to take care of Angela. Yeah. Because she's the one who worked her butt off like the whole time that she had her. And he's just a bum. He doesn't really make much money and he's just there.
And then Castle says to her, you are paying the ransom to yourself. And once Angela was returned, you would file for the papers. And there'd be nothing. He couldn't take anything after that. Like that's all their money.
Yeah.
And then she would just take Angela and leave. Castle is just watching, and he looks so sad, like watching them, because it's the breakdown of a marriage. Basically, it's really sad. And he's probably, I think maybe he can sympathize with Therese because like he was that abandoned kid too. And then she starts yelling and she's like, do you know how hard it was to adopt her? How much it cost? 10 years. And then she looks at Alfred and she's like, how many paintings have you sold, Alfred? Huh? How many? And then he's like, how could you hate me so much? And she says, you made it easy.
That part I kind of thought was a little sad too.
Yeah?
Yeah, because that was kind of like the breaking point.
But I don't know, like to go through all of that, to put both of them through all of that, I don't know. It just seems like a little too much.
Yeah.
Just to not have to pay alimony. Like now you're facing jail time. I guess she thought that nobody would figure it out.
It's crime. They would find out eventually.
It's crime. Everybody finds out when it's crime.
And it's Castle.
Okay.
We always find out what happens.
Okay, fine. But then there's just like this, we're at the end, and there's just like this final sweet scene between Will and Kate.
So Will asks Kate for another chance, and Kate is very hesitant. So he just tells her to think about it, and he walks away.
She asks him like, what happens when you leave again? He says, you can come with me. But like, I don't think she would want to do that. She didn't want to do it the first time. Why would she want to do it this time?
Exactly. It's basically the repetition of like the decision she had to make before. But at that time, like they were like going out officially and everything, and she decided to stay. This time they haven't like started back. Right. Besides the kiss.
Yeah.
They didn't really start anything back with them. So yeah, I don't think she will go through it with it either.
And then Castle comes and sits down out of nowhere.
And I love this part too.
Yeah.
So this is like how I referenced the yin and the yang in the beginning.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because he says, Castle says that like he's really handsome guy, square jawed, by the book. And Kate is like, and that's a bad thing? And he's like, yeah, he's like the male you.
Yeah, just like how I was saying, like throughout the episode, like he's just her. Will is just Kate, basically.
Yeah. So he goes, yin needs yang, not another yin. Yin yang is harmony. Yin yin is a name for a panda.
Oh my god. Who's the life coach now, Castle? Who has the Martha-isms now? And then Kate calls him Obi-Wan, which is another sci-fi reference.
Mm-hmm. And he ends off by saying, like, that's it for today. Let's say we celebrate by going out for a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And she declines.
Ooh.
And she says, I got a date.
Oh! Unlike you, I don't live my life on page 6. And then he's like, you're a mysterious woman, Beckett.
Oh my gosh. So she goes, maybe there's a little more Nikki Heat in me than you think. And she walks off like with a smirk on her face.
And finally a song plays, and it's like this weird sultry music. It's like, I tie a boy. Yeah. It sounded exactly like that.
I think the music selection is hilarious and kind of relative to like the whole Nikki Heat thing.
It's like this cha-cha, sultry cha-cha music, and she's just walking away, and Castle's just standing there like, wow, what a lady.
Oh my god. That made me laugh.
So cheesy. But I liked it. I was like, yeah, you get it, Kate. You get it. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. So what did you think of the characters, Doob? I feel like Alfred was like the most pathetic person we've seen so far. Like, it seems like he wanted to work when he came back from the war, but he, I guess with his effed up army couldn't. Mm-hmm. But he tries to be like the man, I guess, throughout this episode. Like, after he realizes like he fucked up, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go get my daughter back. You don't have to do it, Will. I'm gonna do it. They said no cops, I'll do it. Like, he's trying to make up for the fact that he couldn't be much of a dad before. Mm-hmm. But he just seems like he's broken. It's obvious that he like loves his daughter. Yeah. He doesn't not love her, but he's not a good father.
Yeah. It's like iffy on both situations.
Mm-hmm. Like, even Kate says, like, well, Will asks her, like, in the final scene, he's like, how do you think it's gonna go? And Kate says, if she has a jury with lots of moms on it, it'll probably go well for her. Because it's like, it's iffy on both sides. Like, the mom is absolutely insane for wanting to like do this whole big plan, but the dad isn't any good either. Like, neither of them should be allowed to adopt this child. She should just go back to her mother, I think, her birth mother.
Yeah,
they seem to care.
Her birth father too.
Yeah,
they care a lot more.
They would probably take better care of her.
Yeah, because TRESHA, like, she was at work all the time. Yes, it's to like afford her bills and stuff, but she also couldn't have any time to take care of Angela either. Mm-hmm.
It would be better if they didn't have a kid to take care of, and that they would just let Alfred do his painting, and then she could reduce her hours.
Mm-hmm. Anything is better than that.
She just grew to hate him, like, as time went on, and he just wouldn't like do the things he promised he would do. Like, he says, like, I'm gonna put bars in the window, and he doesn't.
You know what?
And then he's like, I'm gonna get a job, then he doesn't.
I think maybe, like, given like everything that's happened, like, I think TRESHA probably hated him before even adopting the child. And they thought that adopting the child would make things work. Maybe. And then they had the child, and the argument still continued. But this time, she was more annoyed because they had a child amongst all of this.
Yeah.
You know, because, yes, it's more responsibilities as well, right? So maybe it just kind of added to all the stress that she was already having.
But also, like, Doob, this episode is kind of ridiculous, don't you think? Like, if you think about it, like, because I watched it a few times, and once you know that Teresa's the one who did it, you can kind of look for clues. And, like, how did her sister organize everything? She would have had to have knowledge of the inner workings of the FBI. She would have had to know how to get a phone that wasn't traceable. She would have had to know how to use an IP anonymizer. She would have had to have been somehow watching Castle as he walked through the whole fucking city and into that building to pick up the bag. How did she send out all the fucking bags? How'd the flash mob happen so smoothly? What? Hey? Where did she get all the money for that? If she had money for that, she could have helped her sister.
Maybe she took a loan.
Okay. She took a loan.
And she knew that everything was coming back, and so she could afford it.
Okay.
Well, TRESHA, you're going to jail. You're going to be paying more than that. I'm sorry.
If you watch it again a second time, right, you also see like TRESHA does like a really good job of pretending to be in anguish over the kidnapping. Like she's good at like when she's on the phone talking to the ransom, well, talking to her sister basically. She's crying and she's like pretending to be like, please let me talk to my daughter. And it's kind of creepy if you think about it. It's really creepy. She's creepy.
It's really creepy because of how genuine she sounds.
Yeah.
When we watch it for the second time for us, and we know that she's part of the person that organized everything, set up everything, then we start analyzing like how she behaves, and she behaves like she is not the person. Like not, there are no clues, and she's very like emotional and everything, like as if she didn't take part in it at all, and she was truly genuinely worried for her daughter, which is that's the part that's creepy.
Yeah, it's like she's made it all up in her head and she can believe it.
Yeah, really that's creepy. Exactly it.
But yeah, that's the whole episode. We should probably end it here because my recording on Audacity says we've been doing this for 2 hours. So, and I have to edit it, and it's gonna take all day again. But yes. So, Doob, what would you rate this episode?
I would give it a 7.5.
I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10.
Interesting.
Very interesting. It's not that interesting.
I think the overall, like, I liked most of the scenes in the thing. It's just the concept of like her being the person to set it up, and you know, like, yeah, like it was mostly the actual concept of the kidnapping, that the
execution of it all.
Yeah, that I found a little bit
unbelievable. Yeah.
But I liked most of the scenes in the episode, so that's why my score was pretty high.
I think I liked it mostly for just Castle and like the whole thing with Will and Kate. The case was just kind of, it was okay.
Yeah.
It seemed like a weird sort of heist case, but the heist wasn't about money. It was a child. Like that scene with the bag and everything, it seemed like something that would be in a heist movie.
Yeah, it actually does. Yeah.
So yeah. But anyhow, Doob, where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at DEVAstars4, and also I have like a food blog on Instagram as well at t.foodlove, TDOT foodlove.
And I am at Trisha Does Nothing on Instagram. Follow me there where I do nothing. And I am at Alex Does Nothing on YouTube. Follow me there where I do something. That's it. No. Do you have ASMR for us, Doob?
Let me try. It's not going to be as good as my musical performance from last time, but
yes, that was amazing. I called Carnegie Hall and I was like, listen to this, and they all shit themselves, and they were like, yes, I have to get her in.
Sign me up.
The musical stylings of Doob.
I want Luna to meow into the microphone, but it's not happening. Luna?
Why don't you meow?
Luna? I will just do this.
Sounded like a fart. When you said I'll just do this, I got really scared and I was like, oh no. Did you do it again?
Yeah.
Sounded like a fart.
Really?
Yeah.
It's just me slurping some pop. The ginger ale. Like a fart. Well, there we go, folks.
Thank you, Doob, for the fart to ASMR. All right. And on that note, thank you from me. Thank you from Doob. Please like, favorite, and subscribe. Please shut up, person in my hallway. Good night and bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye, everyone.
The fucking night. Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna go eat some chips.